Title: Chiefs facing their longest offseason in a decade. Could a reset save Patrick Mahomes' reign? Description: the Chiefs' 20-10 loss to the Texans ended their AFC West streak and left KC staring at its longest offseason in years. This video breaks down what went wrong, roster gaps, drops, running game issues, and coaching choices, and explains why a sting of tough decisions could actually reset the dynasty. Keywords: Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, AFC West, reset, offseason. Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, AFC West, Chiefs Kingdom, NFL, Texans, offseason, at reset, Mahomes era, NFL analysis. Keywords: Chiefs, Mahomes, Broncos, offseason reset, wide receiver room, running game, NFL strategy. It starts with the scoreboard: 2010 Texans over Chiefs. Not a fluke, not a bad night that'll be forgotten. This one stings because it ripped a streak that felt permanent. 9 straight AFC West titles and a string of deep playoff runs under Patrick Mahomes. Now Kansas City wakes up to the reality of its longest offseason in a decade. That sounds ominous. It might also be exactly what this team needs. Act 1. The fall that was coming. Let's be blunt. Mahomes isn't the problem. When you have the greatest playmaker of a generation, you still need the rest of the machine to work. Against Houston, that machine sputtered. Mahomes finished 14 of 33 for 160 yards and 3 interceptions. That stat line is what turns headlines, but it masks the real structural failures. Chiefs' offensive line issues were obvious: backup tackles in rotation, pressure turning clean throws into risky plays. The wide receiver room should be the easy part for KC, except it hasn't been. Drops, lack of contested catch winners, and inconsistent route finishes turned borderline plays into turnovers. And the running game? A lifeless 67 yards on 22 carries. Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco did what they could, but they're not game breakers without space and push up front. This isn't one-night bad luck. It's the accumulation of a roster that leaned on Mahomes' brilliance to cover gaps. In seasons past, that was sustainable. When everything else worked, Mahomes could elevate the margins into wins. This year, the margins are gone. Act 2. Why collapse isn't the same as decline. Panic sells clicks. But the smarter read is nuance. KC still has elite offensive metrics in many categories. The playbook is intact, and Mahomes can still do what Mahomes does. The real question is roster construction. Do the Chiefs continue to paper over holes with short-term fixes, or do they make the harder, longer moves to rebuild around their quarterback? Here's the tough love. You can't keep treating adequate as the baseline. The NFL's top defenses don't respect adequate. They need real, physical, contested catch receivers. They need a power back, or at least an offensive line that can consistently create lanes, and they need depth on the edges and in the secondary. Right now, KC's margin for error is microscopic, and the margin evaporated Sunday. There's also the culture element. Complacency sneaks in when a franchise tastes a decade of dominance. Drafting, scouting, and the willingness to pay to upgrade at the margins become less urgent when the quarterback can still carry you. That's the silent, slow burn that erodes dynasties. Mahomes can't plug every hole, and the coaching staff can't scheme around every deficit forever. Act 3. The reset playbook. So what does a reset look like? It can be surgical, not apocalyptic. First, target contested catch wideouts who thrive in tight windows. You don't need 5 superstars. 2 or 3 true finishers change the equation. Second, invest in the trenches. Tackle and interior offensive line upgrades that turn 1-yard losses into 4-yard gains. Third, reevaluate the running back room. Find a back who can create on contact or change the defense's respect level. On defense, the Chiefs need identity and consistency. Pressure up front, fewer blown coverages, better tackling in space. And yes, admit when veteran contracts are no longer producing value. Rebuilding around Mahomes means accepting short-term pain for long-term stability. The hidden benefit? A long offseason gives the front office time. It gives Andy Reid and the brain trust a chance to reset priorities at the draft table and in free agency. It forces hard conversations about cap allocation and scheme fit. For a franchise that spent years riding the Mahomes high, that can be healthy. Bottom line, the Chiefs' loss to the Texans isn't the end of an era. It's an interruption. The dynasty has vulnerable seams. The power word isn't dramatic teardown or limp denial. It's targeted courage. Add contested catch weapons, fix the line, rethink the backfield, hold accountability on coaching and roster construction. Do that, and Mahomes gets the support he needs to snap the pendulum back toward dominance. And if they don't, then the longest offseason in a decade becomes the start of a real rebuild. Either way, this is a rare moment. A franchise that's dominated now has to prove it can evolve. That's scary for Chiefs Kingdom for the rest of the league, and fascinating because dynasties are never immortal. They survive by adapting. Final line. Mahomes still throws the passes that win championships, but championships are a team sport. If Kansas City treats this long offseason like a pause for reflection instead of a crisis, they'll be stronger for it. If they don't, the reset will be forced and painful. Either outcome starts with hard choices this winter. Chiefs are staring at their longest offseason in a decade, and it could be just the reset they need. The Kansas City Chiefs dropped another game, losing 20-10 to the red-hot Houston Texans, putting their postseason hopes in real danger for the first time in the Patrick Mahomes era. Now at 6-7, they sit as the 10th seed in the AFC with the Baltimore Ravens, Indianapolis Colts, and Texans all in the mix for the final playoff spot. The Chiefs haven't missed the postseason in more than a decade, and they've reached at least the AFC Championship game every year with Mahomes as their starter. Even though Kansas City statistically still boasts of one of the elite offenses in the NFL this season, their flaws have become impossible to ignore, and Houston exposed all of them. The Texans' defense has made plenty of offenses look bad this year, but it amplified some of the Chiefs' biggest issues. Playing with backup offensive tackles didn't help, but the wide receivers' inability to win contested catches or finish plays continues to be a major problem. Mahomes gave them opportunities, but drops and missed 50-50 balls turned into turnovers against one of the league's strongest secondaries. If the Chiefs want to win more championships, they need legitimate playmakers, guys who can battle the NFL's top defenses. On nights like Sunday, it becomes glaringly clear how much weight Mahomes carries, especially when Rashee Rice isn't playing at a star level. The issues don't end with the receivers. The Chiefs' complacency at running back has been costly too. Missing multiple offensive linemen against Houston's elite front didn't make things easy, but Kansas City still managed only 67 rushing yards on 22 carries. Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco are tough runners, but they're not dynamic enough to save the offense when everything else is sputtering. Their 31.8% rushing success rate, non-scrambles, was their third worst of the season per True Media. It shouldn't be this difficult when you have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback. The team's floor is already most franchises' ceiling, and although there's been some bad luck in close games this year, the mounting losses force the Chiefs to confront the ugly truth. Last year's roster shortcomings didn't disappear just because Mahomes is a magician. Kansas City needs firepower, real, game-changing, elite-level talent. The front office has struggled to find consistent, reliable support for Mahomes. With a player of his caliber, adequacy is enough to contend. But adequacy cannot be the standard. Honestly, missing the playoffs might be the reality check this organization needs. The Chiefs have coasted on Mahomes' brilliance and Steve Spagnuolo's defensive wizardry for too long. The Chiefs still rank top 5 in multiple offensive efficiency categories, mostly because Mahomes elevates absolutely everything around him. And their defense, while inconsistent, held Houston to 20 points, enough to win most games. But the sloppiness, the miscues, the lack of perimeter talent, the run game stagnation, the red zone struggles, it all adds up. Kansas City currently has a plus 63-point differential, 10th best in the NFL. They aren't dead yet, but one more loss would effectively eliminate them, and they likely need to win out to even have a chance at sneaking into the postseason. The final stretch will be fascinating, but let's be real, this should never be the Chiefs' situation while Mahomes is still in his prime. This offseason may be their longest in a decade, and maybe exactly what they need to rebuild the machine around him.